WoW Cosmology changed pretty much entirely. It's been like a 180-degree turn, and literally no one is talking about this, despite the fact that it changes literally everything we had ever known about the Warcraft universe. First Cosmology chart we got was from a Titan perspective, second was from the Shadowlands. Now this one we just discovered on Karesh, and it gives an entirely different perspective. It makes sense why Sargeras did what he did, what the Void Lords really wanted, even what the Jailer wanted, and it also explains the entire this world is a prison thing. It's coming from the ethereal perspective, the oldest race we ever met that visited every possible nook and cranny of the universe. Shadowlands was a complete lie. The Titan story was a complete lie. So let's cover this newly discovered book and what is everything we currently know about the WoW Cosmology. So you can actually play WoW directly on your phone with Awesome, this video sponsor. They just had a huge update and the app is better than it ever was. It's super easy to use, you just download it with my link in the description, PC and the phone app, and connect it. With the customized gamepad, you can check in on your characters anywhere with game sound. With the new update though, it got so much better with 4K and 8K support, desktop loading in less than a second, you can transfer files, open apps directly on the remote device, and you can use your device as a second screen. Furthermore, they optimized it so much that it works even on weaker networks, so it's much more stable. So check out my link in the description and use the new highly optimized and updated version of Awesome to play WoW on your phone, amongst other things. So this is something I covered a few months back, but this is literally the biggest lore document that was added to the game in definitely the past decade. I mean, so far it literally overwrites all the Chronicle books and even the Shadowlands stuff, and pretty much changes everything we had ever known, and not just about the Cosmology, but about most storylines. As you may know, Blizzard has been quite iffy in the Cosmology. They have kind of been all over the place with it as well. Chronicle was supposed to be like the Bible that would explain everything black and white. Then it turned out this was just a Titan perspective. Then in Shadowlands we got an updated version of the Cosmology chart, which wasn't all that different. However, now we didn't get a chart, but we got a book that kind of describes the chart. So here is why this one is super important. This is a book from the perspective of the ethereals. Until recently, the Cosmology that we had known was from a Titan perspective, and the second one was from a broker's perspective. Titan perspective is so very obviously BS, as we've learned that they're beyond manipulative and obviously they want us to believe certain things. Now, when we got into the Shadowlands, we discovered a broker that was going all over the universe, and he told us some things about the universe that we never thought about. Even more interestingly, he made fun of how ridiculous the historians are on a world like Azeroth. He laughed about many myths that they actually believe. The second Cosmology chart, the Shadowlands one, wasn't really all that crazy different from the first one. We just learned that it was way too simplistic. The first one showed our reality in the center with 6 cosmological forces around it, and the broker updated one talked about the Great Cycle in the middle. Remember, this Great Cycle because this is super relevant to what we learned right now. In a way, it shows us how the entire Cosmology chart isn't really like an observation of how the universe works, but it's like a chart of a specific mechanism. Now, if you can play the 11.2, you might have seen a confirmation that the brokers are indeed ethereals. For the longest time, this was a speculation that the community had, but they are just ethereals that went into the Shadowlands. Now, that broker guy wasn't lying with the chart, he just kind of wasn't showing us the full picture. Now that we had gone to Karesh, we learned that their world was destroyed over 100,000 years ago, and we discovered a brand new book from the source itself. If someone was to know what was going on in the universe, it's definitely the ethereals. They're far older than even some of the oldest races we know, like the Draenei. They saw their planet attacked and destroyed by a Void Lord. They had traveled all over the universe ever since. No one that we know has this kind of experience and hands-on insight. You can see that these ethereal guys have been everywhere from the Shadowlands to the Twisting Nether to even Azeroth. He had visited everything there is to visit, and without a doubt, they're the ones that came up with the most accurate view of reality, and it really is the most accurate view. So the book we discovered in 11.2 is called Multiversal Energy Dynamics and the Murmuration Paradox. It is essentially the new Cosmology chart. It is discovered on Karesh, and you can very easily miss this. This is the reason no one is talking about it, because it's literally just just a random book that drops, but this easily changes everything we had ever known about the Warcraft universe. It is written by technomancer REWRITTEN, and it gives a wildly different perspective, but in line with the broker theory. So the book is a bit confusingly written, but let me explain it in the simplest possible terms. So the ethereal theory is that the planes of existence are ranked into high and low energy planes, and there are actual pathways between them. They recently discovered a phenomena known as the untethered space, aka the limbo, the in-between. They also mention how planes of existence could even be artificially constructed, which explains the great cycle we previously knew. So imagine the universe like one giant totem pole. High energy planes are on the top, low energy planes are at the bottom, and this changes how travel works. Now the book itself states that light, air, spirit, fire, and the twisting nether are high energy planes of abundant energy. The low energy planes are earth, water, death, decay, and the void. Now they don't mention specific planes other than the light and the void, but we can extrapolate that from the cosmology chart. I mean, we can see that light, life, twisting nether are all high energy planes, while death, void, and potentially even the order realm could be the low energy planes. I know it might sound confusing what this even means, but let me explain it really quick what the book says. The energy levels are key because in order to reach high energy planes, you need a lot of new energy, while it is much easier to go down the high energy towards the low energy ones. This puts the low energy guys at a super big disadvantage, and it explains their dire predatory nature, why they're constantly trying to attack us. It also explains why high energy demons were a problem for everyone, because they can reach everyone as they're at one of the highest level planes, so they can just easily go all over the place. It also explains why the void usually doesn't invade unless they can find a power source like they just did. Now this is super relevant because it implies that Azeroth may be what is holding this mechanism together, and it also mentions this murmuration paradox and a certain limbo that exists. Apparently, aside from the known realms, there is like this in-between state where you are nowhere, and here big things can actually happen. This explains the spirit healer and why we can resurrect ourselves in the game, and why don't we immediately go into the Shadowlands. And it also explains why the Shadowland guys send the Valkyries to take us from this place towards the realm, so you don't really go there automatically. Now, if you understood this entire book, you can see that it literally changes everything we know, and this world is a prison and such makes complete sense because it actually is one giant prison. It is very likely someone created this artificial mechanism so that a status quo is maintained. Keep in mind, if Shadowlands wasn't getting an influx of souls all the time, they would go dry, they would have to start getting out of their borders, and they would have to start invading us. We had this happen recently where the Machine of Death broke, and we saw what happened with the entire drought. It also explains the entire jailer storyline. I mean, the guy wanted to conquer the entire universe, not just get spoon-fed energy to survive, while the Eternal Ones actually seem to like the status quo. As you can see, for example, Elune has a deal with the Winter Queen where the Queen gets an influx of souls, while sometimes she can return the important ones to her to maintain the life realm. However, death in the Warcraft universe is entirely artificial, like we probably would be immortal if someone didn't add this mechanism. So, because of a mechanism, a status quo is maintained, but if it breaks, it's back to the primordial times. Now, the end of this book indicates that soon a big diaspora could potentially happen. Potentially the low energy void guys overwhelming our high energy plane could break this mechanism, and they're using the Sunwell as the big fountain of energy to be able to do this. As I said, you need new energy. You need energy sources. It's also likely that it's not just the energy transfer, but that Azeroth is actually holding this mechanism in place, and if that breaks, it's everyone for themselves. The strongest wins. So this book is actually huge. Pretty much, if we view things through this lens, it actually makes complete sense. I mean, we can make sense over most of the storyline that happened. It might even explain Sargeras. It's hard to determine yet whether Order beings are low energy, but it is implied that they could be. The Pantheon probably accepted a status quo where they can do their thing, but they never go crazy. But Sargeras wanted to break it so that they can take everything and order the universe in their own image. This is why he was after Azeroth. The Titans sought to contain this power source. Sargeras wanted to break it, so there is no more artificial spoon-fed energy, and now everyone is fighting for themselves. It's very likely that this is what drove him mad, not the Void Lords, and how sinister they were. Now, the Void realized this as well, and they're now trying to do their own thing as well. So honestly, this ethereal book makes sense out of a lot of things that happened so far, and it might even explain the entire World Soul Saga and what is about to happen in the Last Titan. Thanks for watching. Check out the potential playable money that could happen in this expansion by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on the Roman Empire that I've recorded live on Malta by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.